meeting to this.
No, I'm already home, baby.
I think we're gonna get started. I guess if can Ralph mute himself or no? Because he's the host.
It doesn't matter, baby. It doesn't matter. I'll pay for it. Just get it. If you want to
Ralph,
order.
mute yourself.
Okay, bye.
Okay. All right. So, I guess we're gonna get started with Amazon. They're first on the list. And I'm going to go get my headphones, but in the meantime, if my dogs start barking, I'm going to just mute myself because they go crazy for anything. Who's the person from Amazon? I can't see.
We have Christy Kelly and we have Jessica Schumer here. Thank you so much, ladies. Oh, there's four of them.
There's four of us.
Okay.
There's a lot.
Okay. You can introduce yourselves then.
No problem. In addition to myself, hi, I'm Jessica Schumer. I'm an economic development and public policy manager for Amazon covering the Northeast and based out of Brooklyn. And I'll let the rest of the group introduce themselves. We've got Brad Griggs, a senior manager, PJ, and Christy. So why don't you guys each introduce yourselves?
Sounds good. Thanks, Justin. And apologies, for some reason my camera's not working, but Ralph and Roberto, great to see you guys again. Apologies you can't see me, but great to reconnect. We've had a lot of really great conversations here about our locations there in the Bronx, and really excited about the meeting here tonight. For those of you I have yet to meet, I'm Brad Griggs, Senior Manager on Amazon's Economic Development Team. I lead our efforts on government relations and economic development for the Northeast region, obviously including the 5 boroughs. And so great to connect with you. And then we have 2 new team members here tonight, PJ and Christy from our community operations team and community engagement team. So I'll let PJ and Christy introduce themselves, and then we can jump into what we'd love to discuss here tonight.
Thanks, Brad. Your audio, the clarity of your audio made up for the lack of video. So, as Brad said, my name is PJ Bongiorni. I am from the logistics community operations team. I lead the team here in the New York City metro region. So thank you all for having us today.
Good evening, everybody. Christy Kelly. Appreciates the opportunity to spend a little bit of time together this evening. I work closely with the team at the delivery station there in the Bronx, and am very much looking forward to this conversation and learning about the ways that we can engage more deeply into the community.
Great. Thank you, guys. So we thought we would start with just sort of a quick update on what's going on at DNJ3, or what we call DNJ3, which is our delivery station in Hunts Point, which Brad and I can give you. And then we would introduce our community operations team and their role and what they are doing, and then open it up to questions if that works for everyone.
Yeah.
Great.
That's perfect.
So Brad, would you like to start with sort of our update on DNJ3, or would you like me to do that?
You can take it, Jess.
No problem. So DNJ3, which is in Hunts Point in the Bronx, has been very busy lately. I'm sure you've all noticed. Given COVID, we've seen sort of increased demand for our products, helping people get essential items, help people who don't want to leave their homes, obviously, because they have a pre-existing health condition or they're quarantined, get supplies. Goods, services, anything you can get on our website. And so we have been busy there. Right now, we have approximately 450 full-time employees, Amazon employees, working out of DNJ3.
How many did you say?
450 people directly employed by Amazon.
Okay.
And these individuals are getting all at least $15 an hour, if not more. They're getting full benefits, so medical, dental, vision, paid leave, 401k, life insurance, basically the same benefits package that Brad, Christy, or PJ or myself get. So the same that we give our corporate executives. And they, are working hard to deliver packages. In addition to those 450 full-time associates, we are third-party delivery service providers who are the van drivers that you guys probably see around the neighborhood. We have about 500, I think, routes we're running right now, Christy, is that right? So that's an additional 500 full-time jobs that we're running out of the site. So it's busy, and there's a good news and bad news to that, which is we head into what normally would be our peak season, our holiday season, which is our normally busiest time. We don't expect those numbers to change much because we're basically running the site at full capacity because of COVID. I don't know, Brad, if there's anything else you want to sort of add to that sort of quick update.
Sorry, I had to get off mute. No, from that standpoint, I think we've been able to really engage well with the hiring process there in the Bronx, and we've been able to get our location really operating at a very efficient level. We appreciate the support, Ralph and Chairman Crespo, that you guys have given us, that with the hiring events and being able to broadcast that through the community board. That's been a great effort and great level of engagement there. We appreciate your support on that process. And I think one of the things that we want to do now with Christy and PJ on board is talk about how we can engage through you guys on our efforts there in the Bronx and what they're going to be looking to accomplish. So I think I'd like to turn it over to PJ and Christy to let you guys know more about what they're going to be doing now as a team broadly, and then what we can look to try and achieve there directly in the Bronx alongside of you guys on the community board.
Thanks, Brad. Again, I'm PJ Bongiorni. I'm leading the community operations team out here in the New York City metro region. I just want to say a few words about our team, our purpose and overarching goal for our team that Christy and I are on. As well as our commitment to partnering with communities like the Bronx and elsewhere in the city. And then I can pass it over to Christy, who will say a bit more about some of the specific work that we've been doing in the relatively short time that we've been a team, and also talk a bit more about how we can even get more engaged. So our community operations team is part of our broader Amazon Logistics business. Our Amazon Logistics business is our last mile delivery business operating there in Hunts Point and other places in the city and around the country. And I think in April of this year, our community operations team was formed and has been growing ever since. Our roadmap and overarching goal at the 30,000 foot level is to do what we can to make sure that we're being the best neighbors we can be in the communities where we have last mile delivery operations. And broadly speaking, we kind of do that in two broad categories. One is promoting operational excellence of our Amazon Logistics business. And here we're talking about working with our local operations, our delivery station managers, our on-road operations, to ensure that community members, our customers, community members at large are having a positive experience with our Amazon Logistics business and operations. So we will work to ensure that traffic is staying under control, that that other on-road issues are not impacting communities negatively, and also we'll work through issues whenever they arise with community leaders and community members that may be experiencing any challenges with our operations. The second part is what Brad and others have been alluding to, which is our community outreach and engagement efforts. We've come up with sort of some guiding principles that help us focus on the types of outreach and the types of organizations that we want to support in the communities where we have operations. But ultimately, we're really driven by a hyperlocal focus. So, while we have those guiding principles, we're ultimately looking for ways that looking at community needs on a hyperlocal level and seeking out ways that we can support organizations that are looking to address those needs. So I can pass it over to Christy now, who can talk a little bit more about some of that hyperlocal work that we have been doing thus far in the city in the few months that we've been doing this work.
Thanks, PJ. He outlined the work we're doing operationally, and our goal really is that at the end of the day, you guys feel that we're being a good neighbor and that you like having us in your neighborhood. And some of the ways that we've just even in the last few weeks been engaging with communities in the Bronx, and then certainly in throughout the 5 boroughs, is we've been doing things like delivering backpacks filled with school supplies to schools. We've delivered food to food banks. We've delivered PPE to VAs. Just this morning in the Bronx, actually elsewhere in the Bronx, I dropped off about 200 headsets for the kiddos who are having to manage school virtually, or doing a lot more schoolwork from home and having to stay plugged into a computer. I think there are myriad ways that we can get involved. We're also looking at and exploring ways to figure out how we can support the South Bronx Asthma Partnership. Having outlined some of these areas, would love to turn it over to you guys because you live there. Where do you see the need that we could be, uniquely positioned to help support or lean in deeply or really help you guys make a difference?
Can I say something? This is Miguel Calderon from Urban Health Plan Project Hope.
Absolutely.
First of all, the things that you mentioned, they're wonderful. Thank you. The PPE is definitely the headphones for the children that are homeschooled. It's all very important. But I just one quick question of the employees that are hired that are working now. Is there a way that you can state what percentage of those people are from the Hunts Point area? And if you can, I understand. And the reason why I'm asking is because, we have people in the community that are in need of employment. If there's something that we're talking about trying to support, that's a key factor of trying to get more of our community residents employed. But I was just curious if there was any percentage that you might know of the people that came from the community that were hired to work there in the Bronx.
So this is Jess, and we did this exercise before COVID, and I'm looking to pull those numbers. I don't know if we got as detailed as Hunts Point, but we did get, the zip codes right near Hunts Point. And I'm going to try and pull those from what I have. Obviously, that may have changed since then. This was before. But we are trying to run our hiring out of the site, at least, again, before COVID. Now it's more virtual. And so we really are trying to target that local community for hiring. But I'm going to go on mute while I try and find that from pre-COVID.
Sure.
Ralph, you got anything, or Maria?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Mary. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. One, I guess, giving headsets, thank you very much for that. But also, I think a big need in this city, and especially in this area, is a lot of our kids are just in terms of internet, Wi-Fi in their homes. I mean, Amazon be able to give hotspots for these kids to be able to do online schooling, or even for the schools to distribute amongst the local schools here in the 104 in the peninsula, as well as whether it's computers, Chromebooks, something for the kids to take home for those, because a lot of times you might have 2 or 3 kids in school and there's only one computer, everybody's got to share it. Those are some issues that we're hearing about that a lot of families have that I'm sure Amazon can definitely assist with, as well as I also had a question about you mentioned the site. I forget how it's designated in your terminology, but the site, that's the 1300 BLE spot. You guys also opened another area on Longfellow?
There was also 2 other sites, I think.
On Leggett. Tato, they had 1080 Leggett.
No, I see there's trucks in an old site on what is it? Sims old site. Sims on Sims Recycling, not the one on Edge.
What's the address?
It's on Longfellow. I'll try to figure it out. But did you guys have another spot in terms of at least keeping trucks and so forth?
I think Jessica, right, you had told Ralph and I when we met a while back that you guys were planning to open up other sites in Hunts Point.
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to follow up on the previous question because I found those old emails. It looks like, and this again was back in late January, so obviously things may have changed, but from the zip codes immediately surrounding the Hunts Point area, about 81 or around, close to around 15% of our associates are from there. And then with our van drivers, hold on, I'm pulling that right now. So of the van drivers, about 200 of the around 500 are from those zip codes. But this is, again, outdated information because, there's turnover, but I just wanted to make sure you guys have the latest, and we're happy to look into that again. working
Thank
with
you very much.
Yeah, we can definitely get updated info, and we'll have our teams pull that and turn that back around to you. And then on the locations, we do utilize from time to time offsite lots when we hit the sort of peak capacity. So that might be what you're referring to as far as the Longfellow lots. Our contractors for the vans have a requirement as far as, when we have the independent contractors, that if because of the location there on Viale Ave and the parking requirements of the site, we have to sometimes utilize offsite lots when we're running at this sort of COVID, unfortunately COVID peak level. And so they, from time to time, we will work with them and they will identify lots and say, all right, we're going to do a short-term lease with that lot. And so therefore they may not come directly through Amazon. That might be a lease that they, as the third-party independent contractor, have set up. So we can check on that location and get back to you guys on exactly what is happening out of that site, if you can get us the address.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I'll get that for you within this meeting. I'm trying to think. I had another question. And did you guys are also not necessarily? Is this our community board where the old ABC carpet was, with the Prologis site?
No, that's not. That's Board 9.
Okay, but that's also going to be Amazon. Am I correct? It's a Bronx River Avenue. Right?
Bronx River under Bruckner.
Yeah, I think we actually may have just had a call earlier today related to a Bronx River site. It's pretty early in the pipeline from a due diligence standpoint. It's not.
Sorry, Brett, I think you're mixing them up.
No, I know the Harlem River Drive, but there was another call on this. So I think it's very early in the due diligence process. We still have the other ones in the pipeline, and we're working through. It may be something that we'll be able to update shortly. My anticipation is that what we're looking at related to that location could be later this year, that we'd be able to give you a more significant update for that site.
Okay.
Is that all, Maria?
Oh, yeah, we got one other thing. In terms of 1080 Leggett, are you guys doing that entire site? I know it's like dual level, like you have the 1080 Leggett that you see that is connected to Lafayette, right? With Lafayette? Or is that Garrison? But there's also the lower part, Ralph. You remember where the mechanics were supposed to be, the Sunrise Auto?
Yeah, the Sunrise Auto, 80,000 square feet.
Is that also part of the new Amazon?
So that Leggett site, I believe, is not a delivery station that we're evaluating for. That's a Ultra Fast Fresh, which is our grocery delivery process, Jess, correct?
Yes.
So that's what we're evaluating there. And from that standpoint, Jess, if you want to kind of get it, we can give you a quick overview of how the Ultra Fast Fresh, it's basically, our grocery delivery service. That we're looking at for that location. So it wouldn't operate just like it would be a different sort of operations from the delivery station location that's there in Viale Ave. But it would allow for increased delivery capacity for groceries in the Hunts Point area.
Okay.
All right, I got a couple of things. I'm sorry.
How many jobs are expected there?
Jess, do you have the numbers for the Ultra Fast
Fresh? I don't, but I can get them and follow back up.
We'll have them for you in the email, Chairman.
Okay, Jessica, you could give me the 500 drivers. What was the percentage for community board?
So again, it's not community board 2. These are the zip codes surrounding Hunts Point. We did the closest zip codes. And it was around 200. And again, this is as of January 31st. So the world has changed a lot since then. So I don't want to promise that we're at the same point.
But you'll get us up-to-date numbers, right?
Yes, we will get you up-to-date numbers.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just have to go off camera for 1 minute. It's my turn with our son, so I just need to bring him in here.
No worries, Jessica. Thank you. I just want to piggyback off of what Miguel was saying about hiring. Whenever the opportunity presents itself, if we can reach out, because we do have.
You should go home. I got him.
And then, Brad or Jessica, if any of you can answer, like, I'm having.
You're gonna come with Mom on her call, okay?
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'll mute her. Don't worry about it. I'll mute her.
Thanks, Ralph.
Yeah, no problem. I got it. So, Brad, I'm having a lot of residents reach out saying that they applied and have not heard back. If I get their names, can I shoot you an email just so you can follow up with that?
Yes, just like when we did the last time, you had a couple candidates when we met with you and Chairman Crespo. If you get me their names, we'll work with workforce staffing on what happened.
And Brad,
okay, that works.
If you still want me to like you guys, it's Bobby. Not Chairman Crespo, please.
Okay, Bobby. I don't need to be told twice.
I guess I don't have a question, but more of a comment. I've always emphasized with you guys, trying your best to remain invisible. I see the Amazon trucks all over the place, and to hear that you have a third party opening up a warehouse, maybe just so that they can have their vans in the district. If there's any way that you can relay to them this message of remaining invisible, because clearly we're having a lot more truck traffic with you guys in our district, and it's always been a concern regarding truck traffic and just what comes with it, the negative that come with increased amount of truck trafficking. So if there's any ways of staying off the local streets, I know we discussed the gas station. A lot of them are gassing up right across the street from the McDonald's on Garrison. But for the most part, I have not heard any major complaints, which is a good thing. To hear that you have 450 employees in VLE plus another 500 drivers, I think you are remaining invisible to an extent. But that is one point that I'm going to always emphasize as far as remaining invisible and staying off the local streets.
Totally
so
understand.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, totally understand, Ralph. And from the offsite lot on Longfellow, that is not an additional warehouse that we'd actually be operating. It's merely the parking lot if we are utilizing it, and we'll get answers on exactly what's going on there and be able to get back to you on that. So we're not actually utilizing the warehouse for operational purposes. It's just sort of an overflow parking lot.
Right. No, which is fine. And I'm happy that, there's a need for it, obviously. However, it's still the amount of truck traffic in our community, and the main emphasis is remaining invisible. That's what I have. So, Chairman, Madam Chair, thank you so much. I don't know if you have anything else for Amazon.
Can I say something, Ralph?
It's Maria's show, but I guess so, yeah.
Maria, can I say something, please?
Sure, Paula.
My name is Paula Fields. I'm the treasurer of Community Board 2, and I just wanted to piggyback off of what Maria was saying in reference to the internet. A lot of parents in the district, especially on my side, are having problems with internet and logging on. As you said, there's more than one child in the home that's doing the remote learning. So, if you could just reach out, if Amazon could reach with and partner with the PALs and the Casita Marias in the district that house and do a lot of work with the students in the district, that would be a great partnership for you guys to look into.
I've taken down that note for sure.
As well as the 401 Council, if possible.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? I want to make sure I get the note.
As well as the 401 Council, the 41st Precinct Council.
Okay.
They have a big avenue of communication.
Okay.
I know that we were told today that you guys were having some break-ins on some of your trucks in Hunts Point. And I just want to relay that we've been in communications with the 401, and the 401 has informed us of that they've apprehended a certain individual that has done it a few times. we had the DA's office to get, this morning also together with the 4-1, and they're proceeding to make sure that this individual, because supposedly this individual has broken into your truck several times and has been let go. So we're staying on top of it. We want you to know that, you know, we'll do whatever we can on this side, and I informed the district attorney's office that we would like to hear that this individual got some jail time, only because, you know, I know people do crazy things these days, but we need to do, we also have our partnerships with you guys, and you're part of the community, so we have to make sure you're protected as well.
We appreciate that a great deal, and you know, I gotta say, your guys' ability to help us engage with the 4-1 was also really helpful in the midst of the pandemic, and you know, unfortunately, when there was sort of the riots and some of the things going on, the relationship you guys helped us establish there. Actually, we had a report come through from the precinct that there might be an incident where they were targeting our trucks heading out of Hunts Point, and so we were able to sort of shut down the facility, get everyone safely out of the location, and make sure that our employees and our drivers were not put in harm's way. And it was really great. You know, it was great coordination. It was an unfortunate event, obviously, but it was a great relationship standpoint with the 4-1, and we really credit you guys with helping us make that connection, you know, together.
A lot of that comes from Ralph. He did a lot of that work. So on behalf of the board, but he did most of the work and together with Maria, who's our chair. They're the ones that did a lot of that work.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Ralph.
No,
Yeah.
go ahead. I mean, this is great. You know, at least like they had mentioned earlier, they met with Bobby and myself a long time ago. I'm gonna say like January. So
Yeah.
this is the first meeting back. I'm happy that they were able to jump on. I gave them a week's notice. But they have their whole team here, so I really appreciate the efforts that they made, and following up with whatever they can assist in the community, like what Madam Chair had mentioned, as far as creating hotspots and jobs. Obviously, those are the two big things that we're looking for right now. So
I also just, you know, I mean, any opportunities of greening and electrifying their trucks would also be helpful as you know, we move forward in terms of, you know, we see everything that's happening in this country and the world in terms of climate and resiliency. Those things would go a long way as well.
Wasn't that a discussion that we had the last time, Jessica or Brad? I know we did talk about.
Yep, and yeah, there's been a lot of commercials, which are both a great thing to see, but also it makes it a little difficult because there's just not the capacity of vans available. So what we have done at every station, including the one on Vial and any future delivery stations that would come into Hunts Point, we have designed the facility to allow for future electronic vehicles, EV vehicles, to be able to be deployed at that site. The issue is we want to put as many electric commercial vans in our delivery fleet as possible. The issue is they're just not manufactured yet. So we have literally created our own demand and manufacturing process to create a fleet of 10,000 electric vehicles that'll be deployed. But there just was no manufacturer in North America that could deliver these electric commercial vans to us. So we have designed all of our facilities, including the one on Viale, to be forward-looking to allow for the deployment once these vehicles are manufactured. Our understanding right now is a conservative timeline is early 2022. We'll see the first significant deployment of these vehicles into our delivery network.
Okay. Thank you. I mean, there's a lot of talk in the news about electrifying trucks and all the companies that are trying to get in on that. So hopefully Amazon will also take advantage of that and start doing that with the vans that we see. Okay. Any other questions or thoughts?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to stay on if you want to see a presentation by the Parks Department, but you guys are great, and I'll definitely follow up with you via email, Jessica and Brad. Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Yes.
the time.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the whole team coming out.
Thank you,
via
Madam
Zoom.
Chair. Thank you, Ralph. Thank you, everybody. We greatly
Thank
appreciate
you.
it and look
Have a
forward
great
to
evening, everybody.
Much. Thank you.
continuing this relationship. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Be careful out there.
All right. I guess next up we have Chris Amai from Parks. Did I say it right?
I know Mike is on.
Oh, I see Chris. Is Mike under an alias?
No, Mike is right here.
Mike. Stay in too sometimes.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I hear.
Okay. Hi, my name is Chris Amy. How are y'all doing today?
Amy. Okay, hi. How are you?
I'm good. I am with the New York City Parks Department, and I'm going to talk to you today about a capital project for a dock replacement at Hunts Point Riverside Park. Shouldn't take too long. I'm looking to get out of this conversation any question, help you out with any questions you might have, but then we'll need a letter of no objection from the community board for us to move forward with permitting. There I am, with permitting and just forward with our typical process. So I'm not sure who has control over the presentation, but I'll just jump right into it. Like I said, reconstruction of the floating dock at Hunts Point Riverside Park, which is, if you're not familiar, at the end of Lafayette Avenue. I'm the project manager. I'm the deputy director for marina infrastructure for the Parks Department. It's being designed in-house by one of our in-house engineers. That's Gabrielle Chernick, who's not here tonight. But if there's any technical questions, I'm sure I can get them back to you. The total budget for the project is not very much for a parks project, especially a marine parks project. It's $350,000 of council money. It should be just enough to do the scope that we're talking about here. You can jump to the next one. So the goals of the project initially, what the funding came in for, was the first goal here to restore and improve the dock for human-powered boating activities. The dock is a key site along the Bronx River for the Bronx River Water Trail for kayakers and rowboaters and so on and so forth. And there were some issues that the major operator rocking the boat had with the original design. We'll get into that later, but that's where this project is coming from. Once we got out there and took a look, there was some deterioration we want to repair, and also there's an environmental problem with the dock design that has to be fixed for permitting purposes. So those are the three main goals. You can move on. Here's just the location in case you weren't familiar. Next. It's in a flood zone, as most of our parks are, so we'll have to design most of our docks are. So we'll have to design for some flood elevation issues, but that won't be a problem. Next. This slide, the only real reason to look at this is it is an industrial area, as you know, which is actually relevant to the design of the site with the commercial haulers of scrap and junk that are upriver. And we'll get into that a little bit more. Next. So here you can see the park itself. You can possibly see, depending on the size of your screen, you can see the pier and the dock jutting out into a little cove in the river. So the dock itself kind of follows the shoreline of the larger river, but it is sheltered within a cove. So and we can move on. But also you'll note here, as it exists at the end of Lafayette Avenue, it was originally part of Lafayette Avenue. It was in the DOT right-of-way. Part of this project has been decoupling that park from DOT. So Parks took ownership of that property. Not ownership, but we took control of that property through the process of this project. This is the dock in question. It's supported by 2 rows of piles that are parallel to each other, 4 on each side of the dock, which is part of the design problem, as you'll see on the next slide. But you can also see some rusting here. That's typical of all the metal structures and infrastructure. And there's some problems that go along with that rust and corrosion. Basically, the dock, once we got out there and took a look, it had to be replaced. It's just not cost effective to repair. Next. So you'll see here, these are the boats that Rocking the Boat, which is the adjacent operator, typically use. You can see just from looking at these photos, they don't pull up alongside the dock. That's because the piles are too close together. The piles are those tall white pipes. So you cannot pull a dock up, you can't pull this type of boat up alongside the dock. So it's just not an ideal design for the type of use that we want to see here, we want to encourage, and it's been trying to utilize this site ever since it was originally built. So we're going to try to alleviate that problem by shifting some things around. You can also see in the background here, in both photos, you can see a pile cluster, a black pile cluster, kind of off in the distance on the top left of the corner of the pictures. And we'll see that on a map in a minute, and I'll talk about that. But also beyond, you can see the scrap hauling sites where the junkers and scrappers haul their stuff downriver, which is a site condition that we have to deal with here. Next. So this is a major problem. This dock rests on the mud flat. Permitting wise, we couldn't get DEC to re-permit this if we were building it from scratch. It's damaging to the mud flat, which is a tidal wetland area. The dock originally was designed to not rest on the mud flat like this, but either because the mud level has grown or because of the failure of some of the dock systems, it does now. So that's no good. That definitely has to be fixed, which is part of why we're going to propose to actually move the dock slightly. And we'll get to that in a second. Also, you can see this gangway here on the right-hand side. That gangway doesn't rest flush on the dock because the dock is resting on the mud flat, and that kind of bends and twists and warps the gangway, which is no good. The gangway is going to also have to be replaced because it's no longer considered, or I don't believe it ever was considered, ADA compliant. We're going to need a slightly longer gangway. So replacement of the dock and replacement of the gangway are going to be involved. Skip to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is basically the gist of what we actually want to do. You can see the dock overlay here is showing we're going to move that dock slightly deeper into the river, which will get us off the mud flat and onto water to keep that dock floating at all tide levels. It's better for the environment, it's better for permitting, and it's going to be better for the users who don't have to worry about their boats getting stuck in the mud at low tide. We'll have to adjust the pier slightly, as you can see in the right-hand photo. Just because of the angle of the gangway that leads down to the dock, it'll have to be adjusted. So we will adjust the pier and then make it look like it was always designed that way with matching railings and so on and so forth. And then the dock will move down to deeper water. And there's not much play here. This is the farthest out we can move it because of the commercial traffic. Those pile clusters I mentioned, the black pile clusters, you can kind of see them to the northwest and southeast of the dock. They're there to protect it from barge traffic because apparently a barge did hit this dock at some point in the past. So we can't really move out deeper than those pile clusters. So that's kind of determined exactly where we were going to go with this dock. There's not really anywhere else for us to go with it. This is the only place it's going to work, but we think we have the funds to do it, and we think it'll solve all the condition problems that we have. Next slide. Just some of the materials we're looking to replace it with. A floating dock here in the top left, you can see just aluminum frame, RPL, plastic, timber, dock material, exactly the same as what we have there now, except we'll have only one layer of piles on the side of the dock that we're working with, that we're reinstalling. So that way we'll have a nice flush edge on the outer edge of the dock, so they can pull up as many boats as they want to. They don't have that problem of cramming them in between the pilings. And we think that engineering-wise that works fine, which is good for rocking the boat, the operator, but also for anyone who wants to pull up a kayak or a rowing scull or whatever. They'll have a nice flat edge to work with. And then we'll be replacing with an ADA compliant aluminum gangway, not as long as the one shown here, but a little longer than the one that was originally provided, and totally to code. You can go to the next slide. That's really it. So that was pretty quick. Only thing that wasn't in this slide presentation that I anticipate you might be interested in is the staging of the project. This will all be done from land. We don't have to worry about barges in the water. Probably just a truck or two coming in and out of the park. So anyone in the neighborhood won't even, really notice, aside from the pier being shut down, probably just for a couple of weeks. The anticipated construction start here ideally would be for the fall of next year. And the construction time that's allowed in parks contracts is a year. I don't think this project will take that long, but that means that the completion time would be fall of 2022. 2022. If there's any questions, I'm happy to go into anything you like.
I just want to say, Madam Chair, that you don't have quorum in your committee, although we have 3 executive officers. I don't know how you want to handle that. Before we have any questions, or if anyone starts to make a motion, there's no quorum for the committee. So I just want to bring that to your attention.
Okay, and so Parks will need this letter.
They need a letter. Am I correct?
A letter of no objection should suffice. A letter of support would be great too. But just something letting us know that the community board has no issue with the project, so we can move into our permitting. That's it for us.
And you would like that letter before the end of the month? At the end of the month? Because the sooner you get it, the sooner you could get started, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're rolling things in parallel. I wouldn't say that, I'm not desperate for it immediately, but if you could do it by the end of the month, that would be totally acceptable. Anything beyond that would probably be fine too, as long as I had an idea of how long it's going to take for scheduling.
Okay.
I'm Chair, if I can. I sort of like what I saw, but there's one thing that I did not see that I have concerns with, and that is a fence for that area, because as you make it nicer, you're going to have more people interested in the area. And I'm afraid that what happened over at Starlight Park, where you had kids going out there hanging out and trying to swim, there was no prevention of them jumping in.
Yeah.
And that's my concern that I see this particular project.
This particular site, it has been an area of concern for swimming before. You may have seen in one of the photos that Parks has. We don't have many of them, honestly, but there is a Parks life ring here, one of those emergency flotation device boxes that Parks keeps stocked with a life ring. So that is a concern. Typically for a Parks kayak launch or floating dock of this nature, they're not locked off. You do need to have a permit to launch a craft from there, but the pier is a fishing pier. It's used heavily by the community, is my understanding from the meetings we've had. So we don't typically lock it off because that's the major use. But then, of course, when you have the floating dock, you do have to think about that potential of swimming or other unauthorized uses. So it's signed, no swimming. We have the flotation device for emergencies. But it is a valuable note. We do keep this particular pier gated, but as you probably know, it's not typically kept locked, and there has not historically been a gate from the pier down to the dock. And I would, if that was something that we could potentially look at that have replicated at other sites. We haven't considered it yet at this location. But it is a possibility depending on whether that works for within the space, because it's a rather limited range of motion at the end of that pier, but I can look into it.
I want to, thanks, Chris. I want to add to that, and I apologize if there's background noise. This is Nate Grove. I'm the Chief of Waterfront and Marine Operations for New York City Parks. I appreciate that concern expressed. I responded directly to the Starlight Park tragedy. Losing track of the years, but maybe 5-6 years ago. And we did a lot of thinking, a lot of discussions, a lot of engagement with all interested parties. And ultimately, again, Chris pointed out some of the measures we took. We have a lot of launches citywide. Only a few of them are actually floating docks, where kind of more of an attractive nuisance, you might call it, for people who want to see if they can use it as a swim platform. 2 of those are on the Bronx River, this being the second one. You mentioned Starlight Park. So what we did do at these sites is install those life rings. I pay for those when they get stolen. We constantly replace those. We have people checking those weekly. Another measure was the closing gate. The concept being, kind of like a kiddie pool, that if a kid wanders off, a toddler, that there's a gate there that they can't open themselves, a toddler. But ultimately, the rule of protecting our waterfronts is that people need to be able to get out as well. So the idea of locking everything becomes fraught. If there's an emergency, if emergency responders need to get in or out, we really can't find ourselves in a position where we're locking people out of exiting our waterways. Finally, I worked very closely with NYPD, and we installed those emergency call boxes, both at Starlight Park and there at Hunts Point Riverside Park. This was only 6 sites citywide where we did that full treatment, and 2 of those were in the Bronx River. So those are the measures we've taken. Chris mentioned the signage, but at the end of the day, we think that this is a successful combination of response to that very valid concern. Ultimately, I've been at this job now 18 years. I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't had any incidents at this site. Starlight Park, we obviously have in Concrete Plant Park, where people will just go in the water regardless, whether you have a dock there or not, are kind of some of those challenge sites as well. And we did similar treatment at those. So I can answer other questions if you have them.
Bobby, anything else?
No, I'm just saying I enjoyed what I saw, but my only concern is that. But if there's going to be police call boxes there, I would think that they're connected to the 401 precinct, where the 401 can respond immediately. Somewhere communications has to be, because if in the event a child decides to jump in and he has a friend there, I understood that the one in Starlight Park, it took a while for the individual to go out of the park again to try and get some help for that individual. That's my only concern. Is that, and I understand that you can't close parks because you want them to enjoy it, but we also have to be cognizant. We need to be safe, and bad enough an adult may do this, but when it's a child, it's even a bigger loss to the community. And so when Ralph presented this to the executive committee a week and a half ago, I said, well, what about gates? What's happening with gates? And he says, well, let's have them make the presentation. That is my only concern out of this whole situation, is that we shouldn't be preventing. But in most parks, I believe you close it up at a certain time. You got PEP officers. You could come over, the PEP officer can close it, to make sure that at least in the evenings, there's no such danger.
Yeah, Bobby, a few things. I don't know if you guys can hear me very well, but sometimes the microphone comes in and out.
You're fine, Mike. We can hear you, Mike. We can hear you.
Yeah, over at Starlight Park, one of the issues was that the NYPD, there's 2 different precincts that intersect there, and they weren't familiar where exactly the dock was. So one of the things, and I believe that Nate was part of the conversation with NYPD on that, was to make sure that we put a call box, because the call boxes have a GPS to them. So if somebody would press that call box, it would have a direct GPS to it. And over at this park that we're referring to, when we put one in Starlight, we also put one in here. And this was also the location where we did the water safety, where we installed the self-closing gate to the pier, or the gangway. I'm not exactly sure where, but it's the self-locking gate where a toddler can't just run out. They would have to be able to open it. So those are some of the safety measures that we have taken here. So I just want to mention that as well.
I'll just add to that, Mike. Thanks for that. That's absolutely right. Look, this is an issue citywide often where as good as our emergency response services are, if it's in a park, they often can't find it. So that was one of the big motivations of getting those call boxes there, is that it immediately identifies where the person's calling from. Quite frankly, and you're talking about 15, 16-year-olds, a lot of times they don't want to use their own phone even when they have it. They don't want to admit that they were doing something they weren't supposed to. So that call box also gives a level of anonymity that makes people more comfortable to call in an emergency. So I think it's one of the best things we could do to ensure safety along our waterfronts.
Also, we do lock this park in the evening. So it is one of the parks that we lock up in the evening.
And the gate, the fence on the front of this park is pretty. It's a high fence. When it's locked up, yeah, I can't see somebody getting.
The operative word there, Chris, the operative word there is when you lock it up. You know, that's the operative word. I want to make sure that at least it gets locked up every evening, so like this, don't have curiosity in the evenings. That's concern.
So at the moment, we locked up about 110, 115 parks. So we have about 3 crews that go out, and they don't always start at the same park. So, you know, they're basically like alternate, but they go out beginning in the summertime, beginning around 9 o'clock, and they start locking up the playgrounds and the parks throughout the borough. So even though, say, this park closes at 10, sometimes they won't get there at 10. Sometimes they'll get there 10:30, 11. Sometimes they'll close it at 10. Sometimes they have issues where people become confrontational if they're trying to ask someone to leave and they become confrontational. Our crews basically just leave, report it, and try to come back later. Fortunately for us, this is not one of those sites. People, when you ask them to leave here, they do leave. We haven't had much issues of the sort. So, you know, we've been fortunate, and hopefully that continues.
All right.
Okay, thanks, and nice to hear from you, Mike. I'm just trying to think, you know, the other concern with that dock in the previously was, I know under Hurricane Sandy, that one was one that kind of, the tide came in and it kind of jostled the dock, and it was kind of, you know, you guys had to do some repairs from it. With this new design, is that something that's going to happen again? I mean, like the way it rises, it would give that give and take with the tides. Could that be a problem again? Should another storm happen? Or, I mean, I know it's probably not completely stormproof, but just some thoughts on how much more resilient this dock will be in the future with this new design.
Yeah. So the design at that time, and I would have had to have understood the condition the dock was in at that time to go through what it went through. But there were some failures on the in the underside of the dock and in the chalking system that held the dock aloft at low tide that I think probably would have contributed to any kind of like inability of it to properly go up and down. It also was missing a lot of the collars that attach it to the piles. The kind of infrastructure wear that was showing on that dock now, I would say, would make it difficult for it to activate properly in those kinds of extreme conditions. But then what it was like, you know, at the time of Sandy, I can't say. So it should work as designed. It should be able to go all the way to the top of the pile and back down in the event of something like Sandy. The gangway will be conditioned to be able to handle the incline change to the degree allowable. So you know, it's hard to perfectly stormproof everything, and a lot cheaper to probably replace a dock than to make it impervious to every kind of weather event. So that's the best answer I can give. But it'll be better, in much better condition now when this project is done than it would have been probably at the time immediately preceding Sandy.
Okay, and I'm sorry. Can you give the time frame of construction and what are the safety measures that'll be happening then? And then lastly, regarding rocking the boat and their access to it, how will that work?
Sure. So I'll answer the second part of your question first. So rocking the boat won't have access to the dock during construction, obviously. That's just what is impossible. But what we're going to try to do is maintain access to the adjacent shoreline, which rocking the boat uses a lot. There's almost like a gravel boat ramp immediately adjacent to the pier that we would ideally not have to pen off, so that we'll be able to get boats in and out of the water during that time period. In terms of site protections, there will be a fence on the staging area, which will be some portion of the grassy lawn adjacent to the pier, which will be needed to park a truck and just to store some material. Whether or not that needs to be secured with a higher fencing or just kind of portioned off with the orange plastic range fencing, we're not quite sure yet. But there's definitely enough space there to stage everything we need and to park the construction vehicles, which would just be a van or two for the scope of what we're talking about. And then in water protections, we'll need to do likely a silt fence here to keep runoff of mud and muck from the construction in case we do have to interact with the river bottom during the removal of the dock. That'll pen in any environmental concerns. And then the pier will have to be closed as well during that time period. So that'll probably be the biggest frustration to the community, I would guess, is that the fishing pier being out of commission for that time period. And like I said, that could be up to a year, but I don't anticipate this project to take that long. But it will be part of the contract that it will be closed off for that time.
So you guys are, again, I guess it's dependent upon when you get all your approvals, but it's going to be like 2021 to 2022?
Yeah, fall of 2021 would be, as of right now, our ideal start time. And so the contract would allow for construction to continue for a year. So completion in fall of 2022.
Wow, that should just be when we're getting over COVID then. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, Bobby and Ralph, I guess the next issue, I mean, Miguel is my only other committee member here. I know if he wants to raise any other questions, or if we want to try how we can approve this or give the letter of no objection or the letter of approval. How do we do this? Or do we just do this in executive session, since we already have 3 members of the executive committee here? Ralph, Bobby, I'm leaving it to you guys.
How many members you have in your committee right now?
It's just Miguel and myself.
No, but I'm saying in normal.
I read it up. Hold on. We got Echo agenda. Hold on. So as of right now, we have Delvis, Miguel Lewis, and Nick. So 5 members.
5, and you got 2 out of 5. Okay. For the executive committee members, we have 3. Executive board members, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Paula, Larry, and yourself.
Okay. Well, Maria, we'll take your lead on this thing. Well, how do you feel?
I think regardless, it still has to go to the full board.
No,
right?
I mean, if they're looking for a letter of no objection and it doesn't have to be like yesterday. We can wait till it goes to the full board. That's not a problem. Or we can do it off of the executive committee, which is in another week, right, bro?
No. The executive committee will meet on the 28th.
All right, so then in a week and a half.
Correct.
All right. So I would say, if Miguel has no concerns on this project and you, Maria, don't have no concerns on the project, we will take the lead of the present members and make a presentation to the executive board. All right, and then from there we can then take it to the executive to the full board in 2 days after that.
I have no objections.
Okay, so yeah, I think if we had our whole crew, this would go through without an issue. But because we are short, we have to go kick it to you guys.
Yeah, Larry, you're online, so you want anything to say? Larry?
Larry.
No, yeah. You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that the dock is closed down. Rock the Boat don't have no access, but it has to be done. But I think it's a good idea of fixing this area, having some place where the kids can go. I really like the young kids going there, but that's something we have to deal with.
All right.
All right. Well, Larry, Rocking the Boat just won't have access to the dock. They have access to the other side where they kind of do a push off.
They always go over there.
Straight in.
Okay.
So they'll still be able to do their program, but again, this is the fall of next year. So, hopefully they might be able to get their summer off without a hitch next year. All right. So.
And Paula, you have any problems?
I totally really don't have any issues or questions about it. It was very clear and nicely presented, and I think it's a benefit for what needs to be done to be fixed.
All right. So what we'll do is we'll take it to the executive committee in a week and a half. If everything's okay, then from there we'll take it to the full board.
We don't need parks for the executive committee, correct? The presentation was made. I have it on the PDF. We know the timeline. And we know that, in particular, Rocking the Boat is not objecting to this. They're the ones that are supporting this to be changed. So,
No, I just want to make sure you have a copy of the plans in case anybody at the executive committee.
Yeah, I have the PDF. I'll have the presentation handy for that. So,
okay.
So, Mike and Chris, thank you so much. I will follow up with you guys. However, you will be needed for the full board meeting on the 30th. One of you is fine. In case there are any questions from the general board members, which I doubt very much, but if there are questions that were not presented now at this committee meeting, that you guys can answer. So I'll need one of you guys there for that.
Sounds good.
And we'll make sure we send you the invite for that also.
Perfect. Thanks.
Ralph, before you go, Mike, actually, I think I have a concern on another note. In terms of Oneida Field, the drug use in and around that area is really just out of control. I don't know if you guys can send some PEP officers by every now and then, especially. I go walking in the morning, so between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. There's people just today. There's people. They shoot up on the wall, right on the Oneida side. And it's really, it's really kind of disheartening, and it would be great. I know I sent a message to the 4-1, so we would greatly appreciate anything Parks can do in terms of that, in terms of additional surveillance, or checking in.
But it's between 8 and 9, the majority of it, you would say?
Well, when I'm there in the morning, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I guess that's the morning shift. But it goes on all day. It goes on all day.
But Mike, you even got the other day. I'm with my nephew, and we're driving through there, and you got prostitutes hanging out there. One picked up her dress and exposed herself.
Oh man.
And so, but I think Ralph, and correct me if I'm wrong, we want to set up a meeting with the precinct and Parks anyway.
Regarding Bill Rainey, that's what you are requesting.
So maybe we can also include this at that time also.
Sure.
We can do both of them at the same time. But in the meantime, before we get into that meeting, Mike, maybe you can do something about it. Have your PEP officers talk with the 4-1 and coordinate something out of there for during the meeting.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Captain Sanchez and Captain Bayron about it. It's a lot of it, NYPD would be better equipped to handle, obviously, but I'll ask them to work with them on it. If it's drug use in the park, we can definitely take a look at that. I'm not sure what they can do about prostitution outside of the park, but I'll speak to them and let them know that something's going on. I have another question. Is any of this related to the living room? Because I remember a couple of years ago, we had a meeting there, and I know that their security does patrols apparently, and they were doing their patrols. So I'm just curious to know if we should also be part of that conversation again.
So, well, this morning, so I can send you the photos that I took this morning, into your email, shortly. But I sent it also to the Bronx Works site, and I sent it to the 4-1. I have not, Ralph and Bobby, I didn't hear back from Sokola, so if you guys can flag that for me, that'd be great.
I'll give
now,
you when we finish here.
Yeah. So the gentleman from Bronx Works did say that, and I have seen this as well, that they're not their clients, that they most likely live in the building, another building that's across the street from the park, right directly across the street from the post office. And Ralph and Bobby.
That's the Sunshine Place.
No, well, I don't know. No. Well, on the other side, this is right next to the Odyssey House, the women's thing. Yeah. That building there is also. I mean, I see them come out of there in the morning as well, and so I don't know if that's another cluster site. I don't know what's going on with that building. I don't know the address. I'll try to get it for you, but it's the one that's directly closest to the park and directly across the street from the post office. So I don't know if they're running a cluster site on the low, but a lot of these guys do come out of that building in the morning, and they're there all day in and around the park.
Get the address to Ralph, and he probably could reach out to HRA and test and see if they're doing anything there.
It's probably like 13-something Lafayette. I'll get a few tomorrow.
Yeah, I just, if it would just make sense to have everybody at the table, because I remember after the meeting we had with the folks from Bronx Works, I know that they stepped up patrol significantly. So if it were their clients, I would suggest bring them back, but it doesn't sound like it. So I'll reach out to Captain Sanchez and Captain Bayron and see if, ask them to get in touch with the 4-1 and step up patrols there.
Thanks. And I mean, if we need to have another meeting, Ralph, we could set it up. I can meet with Mike during the day or something else. So we can.
Well, the chairman wants me to set up a meeting with Parks already in the NYPD, along with DOHMH. So I'll include you in that email. So hopefully we can get like a Zoom meeting going. I don't know. Maybe hopefully next week. Hopefully by the end of the month. It's just to go, on those agencies' respective schedule. So,
okay.
But I will follow up with that for sure. And I think it's not 1,300. It might be like 1,200 something Lafayette.
Yeah.
So we'll double check that though. That's fine. And Mike, thank you for assisting us with this.
No, of course. I'm actually emailing them right now. I don't want to get too late before I email them.
Okay. All right. Ralph, is that all that's on my, that was the two main things of my agenda? But,
those are the two main things, Madam Chair. We also have, I don't know if Parks, you're more than welcome to stay on, Mike. I guess Chris and Mike, thank you so much. I'll follow back up with you at the executive committee if it doesn't pass. But you'll get the invite for the full board meeting on the 30th, just in case there are questions that need to be answered. And then, Madam Chair, on your end, I know we got Miles on, maybe, and I know you might want to give us an update on what's going on at the bid. Miles?
Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Miles, you there?
Miles, you around, Miles?
Can you all hear me?
We hear you now.
Okay. Hey, everybody. So I got, the request to what's going on with the Southern Boulevard bid. We're very, very busy. I don't know exactly what angle to speak from. I spoke with Chairman Crespo about, some of the conditions. One of the biggest concerns was vendors. We're sort of in our hair about it over here because a lot of our stores, like the vendors that we've had for years, a lot of vendors are just showing up now because they think of different circumstances going on with the pandemic. But either way, in the last couple of months, we've been noticing some consistent problems that stem from the vendors. So we've been working with Project, which is a nonprofit organization that helps advocate on behalf of vendors across the state. There's no enforcement, and we have been working with them to devise an outreach strategy, outreach materials that make our aware of things that we also need as the bid to fulfill our mission, like, you know, cleaning up after your tables to light poles and, you know, tree pits and things like that for the next day. Some things that I would consider basic manner. It seems like we're going to have to do a campaign of kindness and see if we can get people to a good faith make some changes. We've noticed that they've been responsive to our sanitation guys. Like when they see them coming, they get really on their stuff. But we need to create a behavior, because you know, that's my only weapon here when it comes to solving that problem that I can think of, because we need some sort of regulation, enforcement, and increase in permitting on in my opinion, from our local make some changes. And then the mayor has rolled back enforcement, whichever with the last reforms. So it's really put us in a position where we don't have any teeth, and we have increased. So that's what I did make the board aware of, that we're aware of, and to work on. I can get into like your question.
Ralph, or Maria, I'm sorry. This is Bobby Crespo. Listen, first of all, I don't know about enforcement, but you got guys, and I've seen it every day. You have people with their tables selling wares, selling everything in front of stores, selling food in front of stores, their wrappers and everything going onto the floor, which is a burden to the sanitation guys on for the bid, and nothing's being done about that. You even got, I call it a car dealership, where you got guys with, he's got 12 electric motorcycles, which I'm sure that he has to have. He needs some DOT or Department of Motor Vehicle permits to do that, and he's selling it on the sidewalk. There's nobody bothering these people, and honestly, you know, my board members from the board, the community board, they're saying, you know, they're getting ripped off, because you got the bump and grind, you got the people, you know, studying their stuff, which is cheap, and taken away from people that are going to the bid. They rather go other places and spend their money other places. Bad enough that we don't have parking, but then when you got people selling cheap stuff out there that don't have permits, that don't have anything, you know, and we just, you know, overlooking it. And this has been a concern that I have, and I'd like to know if the bid's going to have a meeting with Consumer Affairs, Department of Health, because people are cooking out there, and they're cooking without permits, and the small SBS, because that is the only vehicles that you guys can bring together, and we can then bring in the law enforcement side. We can bring in the police department on a meeting like that. But something has to be done, especially with that guy that's selling the motorcycles. I'm even asking the police department to stop there to check to see if any of those motorcycles are stolen. And I don't hear.
Well, the guy, the a little bit of a different situation than the vendor problem, because he is. There are fines that they could bring against him, but I mean, I'm not trying to point fingers, but your luck with agencies. I don't get any calls from DOT to do a walkthrough. I don't get any calls from sanitation when I need help. They tell me they have, for me, they don't pick up sanitation from Saturday afternoon until Monday afternoon, which I think is completely unacceptable at the busiest times in our corridors. Every agency across the board is failing us. So while I definitely agree with you, Mr. Crespo, I think that, we're also in the wind here. I've been told that they don't have the hours, that they don't have overtime, that they don't have the resources.
Miles.
And, it's something. Yeah.
Miles, you've been around long enough to know that you've been part of the DSC meetings. You could have talked to DOT to set up a meeting. You could have spoken with Ralph about this to set up a meeting with DOT or whatever city agencies. I know that Larry Robinson requested a meeting with sanitation. They spoke with us, with Ralph and myself and Larry, and there is no reason why sanitation does not make themselves available. You heard it this morning that the representative of the mayor's office is going to be reaching out to these agencies that are not making themselves available to the board. So there is no reason why we can't be on top of this. That guy that's selling the motorcycles should be the first target. Should be the first target from everybody.
But you've called multiple times on this, and I've told agencies about it, and we have elected officials on the corner here, and we have the other corner. So, I mean, I agree with you. Together, we should be able to get some movement here, but I have no ability to enforce. When I tell him to move his bend.
No. If you need to set up a meeting with Ralph and the councilman, there is no reason why we can't oblige you on that. If you need to set up other agencies that are not responding, then you got SBS, which is a very strong agency, that to get to those agencies to bring them to the table. And you've been around long enough as being a representative of an elected official.
I'm agreeing with you, and we're working on different fronts with different.
No, we're not. Because we need to start.
I'm sorry, there's a delay.
We're not fighting in different fronts. What we're doing is attempting to try and get a stop to this whole nonsense. I mean, you go to Westchester and Southern Boulevard. You can't walk through there. You go to the middle of Southern Boulevard by Alders. You can't walk through there. You go to 163rd Street and Southern Boulevard. You can't walk through there.
That's right.
Be done.
That is filthy.
Paula?
And it's filthy. And you're absolutely right, because and
I don't disagree with you. I mean, I'm listening to everything the conversation is saying, and I echo your concerns, and I am here willing to work with you at every step of the way, and I've made myself available to everybody available for these issues. But at the same time, when there is no enforcement from the city, and if there's no permitting, and there is no ability to give anyone a ticket on this, I don't have a solution to offer.
Let me just give you a little history.
This is a problem everywhere throughout the Bronx and throughout New York City. This is something that we're working on, but I have no.
Let me just give you a little history
and clean this up myself. I am working with the different agencies. I've expressed that this is something that we're working on, and I've been met with everything I've told you. So I'd like to work on a way,
Miles,
to go forward to.
Let me just give you a little history. The reason why you're getting a lot of resistance from agencies is because the BID took a position at least a decade ago, at a minimum a decade ago, to leave those vendors there because the store owners wanted them there. And that's why you get resistance
I
from
wasn't there then, Bobby, and I can't change that then.
Miles,
And
yes, you can. Yes, you can. The bid.
And the thing is that I agree. At the same time, when we go out there and we try to communicate with the vendors about the issues that we're having, that
Ralph,
they could work owners will run out after us
Ralph,
and tell us, please do not make them leave. So there is a feeling and a sentiment of emergency that they want.
But then they don't understand what the community has to. These vendors don't live in our community.
Offline then.
Okay? The vendors don't live in our community. The store owners don't live in our community.
I agree with you, Bobby. I
Okay.
agree with you, Bobby. I agree.
Okay. All right.
This is getting to be an uncomfortable conversation here.
Yes. This is what we're going to do. And
I'm really getting tired of coming to community board meetings and getting lambasted by everybody at the meetings.
Miles, let's just take it back a second. Because right now this is Bobby and you have been discussing. I don't think other community board members have really jumped in. We just have a concern about Southern Boulevard. I think the main thing to go through here is to now set up a time for you and Ralph to get, if you're having difficulties with sanitation, I think Ralph has a very good relationship with sanitation. We should utilize that in terms of getting them to the boulevard to assist with the cleanup. And I know in the past, we've had meetings with the bid and the 4-1, and we really hashed out exactly what we wanted to see get enforced on the boulevard and what we were kind of okay with letting go, right? I think a lot of times before, food vendors were okay. People said fine. But then I know due to COVID, a lot of things have gotten out of control because there were no eyes on the street. There's people trying to do lots of different things. So either we table this into another meeting that's not in this format or at this time, so we could get a little bit more constructive and more answers instead of just going back and forth with each other.
Ralph, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but Ralph, can you do me a favor and set up the meeting with Miles, sanitation 4-1, and maybe the councilman?
Listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. Miles has all of these people, so I need to figure out why, if what Miles is saying, that they don't want to meet. I got to figure that out first, because I'm not going to start scheduling meetings and they're not going to show up. So I don't want to.
I'm not trying to say they don't want to meet. That they feel that they don't have the ability to make changes either.
Okay, so something that Chairman Crespo was mentioning, Miles, and it was like you said before you came on, but I think you really need to revisit is the Vision Zero policy, where you're not going to allow any street vendors on the bid. I mean, you can't be exclusive. It's all
when I had
or
a
nothing.
conversation with our elected official, Ralph.
But that's.
He basically told me that this vendor is okay, that vendor is okay, this vendor is okay, but that one's not, that one's not. That we can't have that policy. I agree with you. I don't want to have them not having sales in their stores, but this has to be a holistic approach.
Right. So, Miles, let me ask you.
And telling me as the bid that it's solely on me, at the same time every agency is rolling back, seems sort of like a slap in the.
No, I get you. Miles, give me a suggestion. What would you suggest then?
Well, I mean, it's not until there's legislation on this issue that increases permitting, creates zones, and then puts an enforcement agency in place. This director is hearing from every community board and every merchant association they're dealing with. I mean, it's a failure on behalf of the city, and until the city is willing to make big boy moves, there's never going to be big boy solutions.
Miles, let me ask you something. Have you had so I understand the council member has mentioned certain vendors. Have you
ones that they don't?
No, I get you, but I think you need to. I will assist you with whatever I can. First of all right. You just got to let me know what it is that you need from me. That's the first thing. But our suggestion
in a very
would be
appropriate and respectful manner because of the way bids get a name for harassment of vendors in the first place. So it's a very, very tricky issue. But I would like to look at other things that are going on at the bid if people have questions about other, things we do.
That's nice, Miles. Okay. Just we'll have to follow up because in order for me, Bobby wants me to have a meeting, but we gotta know the whole purpose. Huh?
All I want is you and the council, since he's saying that he's not getting any support, at least maybe if we can relay all this to the councilman, then the councilman can probably bring in the city agencies that need to be brought in, because this is I'm the one that gets the heat. You know it, Ralph, and all my board members know. I'm the one that gets the heat when people are saying you can't walk through Southern Boulevard because of all these things on the sidewalk. Come on.
I'll reach out to the council member. And I'll set up a meeting with Miles, the council member, and myself, and then we'll take it from there. Fair enough. Miles, is that okay?
I think that would be a good solution. Yeah, I think
for
that
now,
would be a good
start
step
point.
Okay. Listen, Ralph, it's not a solution. This is a start. It's a lot of work has to go into this, the bid on Southern Boulevard. A lot of things are going there, negativity and a whole lot of junk on there, and we have to start someplace. I agree totally with Bobby. I also understand where Miles coming from, but we have to start someplace.
Okay, so you guys are going to connect and take it from there. Miles, would you, in order to end this on a better note, is there anything else you want to report on the bid? Some positivity?
I like to ask Miles real quick.
Well, I mean,
what happened
we
to the cleanup
obviously
thing?
seen an upgrade.
Larry, wait. Let Miles finish, and then we'll go back to that. Okay, Miles, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's okay. I'll actually kill two birds with one stone there because we have been doing really well with our cleanup efforts. Businesses, when they show up, this one lady started crying. She said her graffiti had been there for years and she didn't have the resources. So during these difficult times, I think it's been a good way to not only show the businesses within the bid that, we're here, we're back on, we're trying to get on things. It's also been able to show them the utility that the bid is, and it's much genuine relationships with people when they see the work that you can help them with and do for them, as opposed to just pitching them, come to a meeting later on and so that has been really helpful, not only just building outreach but beautifying some of our districts, because when we do drive through, the great to be all covered in graffiti, and we've been working very hard to get the poles, which are in terrible condition after years of posters on them, and tape and adhesive. So it's been an effort, but we have brought in the maintenance crew, not to circle back to street vendors too much, but I think that, it's helped to create a better community on boulevard shifts internally. But a lot of our businesses are not open. If you've seen, I think we have about 28 at the moment, still closed, and we're trying to figure out where they're at and if they're going to come back or if they can. So it's a difficult time in normalization, but we're trying to fight on every front, from outreach to sanitation to advocating to being a utility to our businesses, to events, to throwing some events. So it's been tricky, but my email is I will return an email at 11 o'clock at night. You just reach out to me if you ever have questions about what's going on or ideas of how I can do better, because what is very much needed. But did I answer the questions anybody had, or does anybody have any more questions?
I have one question. Ma, what was the issue with ABC not letting you guys paint their gates?
Yeah.
They gave you a reason why they wouldn't let you paint them?
They didn't let us?
Yeah, I got calls about that.
No. What did they say?
They said the owner didn't want you guys to touch. You started, they stopped you guys. They said they were opening up their store. They got to do their regular business. I just thought it was unusual that owner getting a free paint job would turn you guys away. That's all.
Oh, you know what it was? Back to me now because we have a lot. It's that they started painting his and could be there at about 3 a.m. and he opened at 10. So I think he just didn't want to be down in the morning, which I totally get. You know, we're having another cleanup day in in October. So we'll just start there next time.
A little earlier. Okay, I got you. I just wanted to check on that. I thought he was giving you guys a hard time. Okay.
Okay.
No hard time yet.
Okay.
And we do. Here's a good one. We have new street banners after many years of old street banners. We're going to be having brand new ones. Hopefully by Halloween is my goal. And they're going to be tall. And there should be about 50 of them. So it's going to look a lot better up on the wall.
Okay. Miles, thank you. And, you know, one of the things that I tried to pride myself with my meetings, and I'm sorry, it got a little bit more difficult in this format, but we like to have positive and productive discourse, and we don't want anyone who comes to present to feel as if they are being attacked or anything like that. So in the end, that's all we really want to see. I know people go about it, and we all go about it differently, but in the end, I don't want you to feel that this is a committee that you don't want to come and present to, and we will, you know, we always try to have that conveyed. So thank you for your time, because we are all taking
I appreciate it. And I think Bobby and I are just very passionate about this. I think Bobby and I are passionate about the same thing. So we're going to get some solutions here.
Yeah, you know, you guys, you know, you're going to spend a lot more time together. I think you have some more meetings with Bobby that you can really hash it out in. So you know, you could do that. Save that for the next bid meeting. Save that for the next bid meeting, okay? But thank you guys, both of you. I see Bobby smirking, so.
Bobby's laughing at you now, Miles. We're good, all right? We're okay. You're right. You got the same objective. It's just getting there. That's what it is.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, same goal.
That's it, Maria. There's nothing else on your agenda.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out and listening. It's been a riveting hour and a half. And see you all at the full board meeting, definitely. And then next month. So thank you. Thanks, Miguel, for coming.
All right. Stopping the recording now.
Maria, I'll see you next week and a half.